Oh, hello kids. I noticed you noticing my quiet intensity from afar. Welcome to my completely not haunted living room. But I'm about to go down to the spooky basement and start today's episode. Let's go!
Oh man, Trey, look up at the sky. It's a full moon on the Sabbath.
This is scary.
Break it down.
I was working late on my Haftorah when I heard a knock on my bedroom door. I opened it up, and to my surprise, there was a werewolf standing there.
Greetings, children! Hello, kids! And welcome to Spooky's Haunted Dungeon of Nightmare and Death and Arts and Crafts! Today we're in the second wing of my Haunted Dungeon of Labyrinthine Death, where we're going to take a look at my super cleaning stuff. Now, let's start at the kind of beginning. This series, for the next couple weeks, until I get it done, is going to be a project about fixing all my War Machine Mercs. So that's what's in here. There's a lot of them. There are quite a lot of them. But this episode is going to be about how I kind of generate ideas for stuff like this, and how I will bring those ideas to life. So that's basically what the whole thing is going to be. And then once I figure out and finish this project, then it's going to be another project after that. And that. Okay, kids, let's go. Hello again, kids. Spooky here. Now, we've gone to the other side of the Haunted Dungeon walls, and we're going to talk about ideas. So, back in animation school, I had a professor who said that when you start with an idea, it's like a ball of light, if you will. And when you start to think about the idea, you're like generating different things that you're going to do with it, and it's really exciting and awesome. But then you have to start to actually do something with the ideas. You write it or you draw it down on a piece of paper, and then every time you move down, the more you work with the idea, the harder and harder it is to make it work right. And every time you move down the stage, it gets harder and harder to finish. And so eventually it becomes a completely different thing. And so it's more about figuring out how you're going to actually communicate what your idea is to people. So if you're going to make a short about a T-Rex that flies a jet, that sounds like a good idea. But then it's like, well, what else are you going to do? Like, what's the jet going to be a jet of? Is it going to be an F-16 or an A-10? Who knows? So that's when your idea has to become a real thing. And so that's the process that we're going to go through for my War Machine Mercs. So we're going to flash back a little bit here to another army I did a long time ago. It was a Space Wolf Girlminator army, if you will. It was a army of Space Wolf Girlminators who were the Logan Wing at the time, but I made them all girls. And so the idea started as an actual troll and money saving endeavor, because at the time, and still, Warhammer is Fruit Looping expensive, kids. It's not cheap. Even back in the day, it wasn't cheap. And I think it was 5th edition when I got back into the game after So yeah. Warhammer 40,000 is like an abusive relationship to me. Sometimes I'm in, sometimes I've grown to become a more powerful woman, and I don't even think about that asshole anymore. But this was one of those times where it was good. So I was in love with Warhammer again, and it was treating me to all these different things, and I wanted to start playing in an escalation league at the time at my local gaming store. But I didn't have any moodles at all. So I had to think fast and quickly, and as always, impeccably cheap. I don't think I've ever done any kind of thing, artistically or model-wise, without thinking with my wallet to try to get the most out of what I have available and how I'm going to use that. Which is probably why so many of my armies become completely repurposed, or turn into hats, as people like to say. So yeah, lots of the times I'll put out feelers to people at the stores and be like, oh, do you have any of this thing that I might be using? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I actually do have a lot of that stuff. And so they'll give me whatever they have left, and then I'll do things to it. Winky face. So yeah, this is what happened. The guys at the store were like, oh yeah, you should play Warhammer again, which is probably what most people say to me when I go to the gaming store, even nowadays, and that's not true now. But then it was. So yeah, they said get into the game, and I said I have to get into the game for as cheaply as possible. Can I do that? And can I have an army ready in like 2 weeks or whatever it is? You know, it was like 1,800. It was a 2,500 point escalation league, and the first week was like 500 points. So I had to build and paint 500 points worth of guys in a week, basically, I think. And so I was like, So I had to pick an army that will both have as few models as possible in the long run, and will be cheap. I thought that, one of my friends said, hey, Logan Week is a thing. There's like 5 guys in that army. And I was like, you're on, beach. So yeah. Then I was like, I don't know why, but I really want to troll some people on the internet. My favorite people to troll of all time, whenever I play games at all, are the neckbeards. I want to make a whole video about neckbeards, because there's a lot of different kinds of neckbeards, and they are almost exclusively miniatures gamers. But you don't have to have a beard on your neck to be a neckbeard. It's more like a state of mind. Like, the people who will walk up to you and tell you about how their space Ultramarines guys are this chapter of this thing, and that you're wrong because you put the wrong decals on your fake models aren't even real guys, and they'll tell you about all their stuff. Shut up. I don't care. This game isn't real. These guys aren't real. I'll make them whenever I want to. And so that's how the Space Wolf Army started. And then it expanded from there. I did get some help by getting the models from some other people. I worked on them for the first week. I had like 10 Space Girls plus Leslie, which was my name for Logan Grimnar. She was Leslie Grimgirl. Yeah. It's almost funny. It's funny. So yeah, that was my army. It was super fun. I worked on it for the whole month, getting it done for the first month, and then I finished it for the Escalation League at 2,500 points. I had Leslie, aka Logan Grimnar. I had, 20 Logan Wing Girls, or Space Wolf Grim Girls. Then I had the Hyper Combo attack, which was a Land Raider Flame Deemer. That was pretty sweet. But all this stuff, it was, it started as a troll, and then it became a thing. And then, the other thing I like to do whenever I make, this kind of stuff, especially since I'm, usually, sitting at work, what if silly hats? What if everyone had a silly hat? What about Hogwarts? And so a lot of the times I will flesh out the backstories of these people who are silly jokes anyway. And that's how you get a lot of the things that have gone from a troll to something that I actually liked and all that stuff. So my War Machine stuff is in the other room, like I said. I have a ton of mercenary stuff that I've collected over the years. And so basically the things I was looking at was making them kind of look like the old, the Warhammer 40,000, Warhammer not 40,000, minus 40,000. No, that wouldn't be right. Anyway, that's so funny. Shut up. Me first. So yeah, Warhammer Fantasy Battles, Squarebase. Squarebase Dogs of War, which was one of my favorite things back in the day. But the problem with the army now is that, one, it's hideously expensive because they only made it for one edition of the game, which I thought there was like 3 or 4, but it was just the one. So yeah, they all have cool abilities and sweet models like the Troll Slayer Pirates, Lungdrung Slayer Pirates. There was like a bunch of different kind of pikemen, and they had a bunch of weird stuff, but they were all really cool and fun. So that's what I wanted to kind of do with War Machine, was I was going to find a bunch of models with silly hats only, and then I was going to maybe convert them a little bit to turn them into like steelhead guys, because that's a big thing in War Machine now. And so yeah, then I also wanted to do some guys for a Magnus list, because I think my team is going to be Magnus 1, and then Domino's Pizza. Yeah, that guy. Domino's Pizza guy. So yeah, Maggie 1, he runs well with 1 Renegade. He runs good with 1 Renegade, because he just needs the Eric Note because he has the knockdown thing now. He basically gets his own, he can cast a spell that just the same thing that the Renegade does, what I'm trying to say. And so yeah. But I'm going to make all the Magnus stuff desert themed, because I really like the Perry Bros Desert Rats models. They are super cool. I got like a ton of them for bolting the actions. And so I was like, hey, these guys are super cool. And the Trencher models, even the new ones, are really bad. The old ones... Those original Trencher models are why I never started playing War Machine. Because, gee, I'm literally laughing about it. Even all these years later, those snake guys were just like, what? But the new models for War Machine are kind of hit or miss for me. I love all the minion stuff. A lot of the mercenary stuff is like the old plastic stuff. Unfortunately, but also fortunately. All of the steelhead stuff is not to my liking. I feel like I don't like it. And so what I'm doing is going to make silly hats, like, Napoleonic mercenaries with crazy colors for the steelhead stuff. And then I'm going to make desert stuff for Maggie's stuff. And I'm also going to have that factor into, like, the jacks and all that stuff. Like, if it's a Jack Marshall guy, he's going to be painted like, if the guys he's next to are all yellow and red, like bright yellow, bright red, then the Jack will be like, maybe like those colors too. And so what I did was I went to the sources I most appreciate for mercenaries. I bought 2 old 80s Battletech books. Yes. Then I bought a book about the Napoleonic mercenaries, and I'm basically just going to combine those, my War Machine guys, and all the boxes from the Perry Bros I brought, and see what happens. So let's get to it. So basically, the short story for my desert mercenaries is that they are a group of mercenaries who used to work for the Signar army, and they were basically people who helped the Signar army prepare themselves and their warjacks for war in the desert. Kind of like a War Machine version of the Desert Rats, which is why I'm using the Desert Rats models from Perry Bros. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do with them. The idea is the leader of them, the person who's going to be Magnus, was a Signar officer who became a warcaster and helped them figure out how they were going to get into Seoul, which is the Menoth capital city. Fact check that, or not, it doesn't matter. It's real. I said it's real, so it's real. So they helped them with that battle, and they were also instrumental, like light infantry, like disrupting their lines. And so when the war was over, they had the option of going back to Signar and teaching other people, basically becoming training the people of the future to do the stuff that they did, or they could become mercenaries. So they chose to be mercenaries because they didn't want to just sit behind a desk basically for the rest of their lives. And so that's the headcanon that I call it for them. I basically, the Magnus I'm using is going to be a girl Magnus, and I designed her thusly. Pictures here. But then for the Magnus tier list, or for the mercenaries I want to play with, I'm going to use the Kingmakers tier list. And so I'm going to run 2 units of trenchers, and the trenchers are going to be the ones who were Girl Magnus's personal mercenary people, and they're going to be called the Lavender Ligers or something like that. Patent or name incoming. But they're going to be kind of like the Long Range Desert Force. They use a lot of the pink camouflage for all their Jackson stuff. And so her jacks will be all pink, and then they'll have the 2 units of trenchers, which will be desert trenchers, which I'll make from the Desert Bros guys. And yeah, but the thing with trenchers is they kind of have a few like iconic details that all the models have. The one is that they have the long coats, they have the hats, or they have the special helmets, and then they have the face masks, and then they have like the armor plates with the sick knife on the one side. So basically, if you're in the desert, you don't want to have that much stuff on you, and it's hot, so you don't want to wear a giant coat. So I kind of like abridged the 2 ideas in my head, and so then I drew them thusly. So yeah, basically, I've actually got a lot of stuff I can use for them right now. Like the Perry Bros models have goggles on them already. I can green stuff the face mask on them pretty easily. Then I'm going to use I have some other bolt action minis like British paratroopers, which have the ammo packs that will work really well for that. The kind that actually look a lot like the ones that they use for the trenchers already. And then I'm going to use backpacks for the trenchers backpacks, because I feel like they would still need to like carry stuff around with them. And then for the warjacks, I'm going to use a stripped down idea, because in the Desert Forest they stripped down their trucks and just strapped a bunch of like backpacks and Lunchables to the outside, and then covered them in camo tarps and stuff like that. So this is what I've gone so far for the robot, or for my jack so far. This is going to be Magnus's Mangler, and so it's going to have the chain and all that stuff. But I'm going to like just like cover it with like packs and stuff like that. And I want to try to make the arms like a little bit like less armored, to kind of give the idea that it's like, you know, they took down all the parts so that it would run across the stand easier and they wouldn't have to use as much fuel for it, like the actual Desert Force. And so, yeah, these are the sketches, and this is where I'm at with those things. So that's it for this time. Next week, I'll show you what my progress is. I'll also be talking about hats of immense size. Only the biggest hats that we'll talk about next week. So yeah, that's everything for this week. I'm Spooky the Kid, and as always, thanks for watching The Haunted Dungeon. Peace out.
Aw man, Trey, look up at the sky. It's a full moon on the Sabbath.
This is scary.
Break it down.
I was working late on my Haftorah when I heard a knock on my bedroom door. I opened it up, and to my surprise, there was a werewolf standing there with glowing gold eyes. He says, tomorrow, my son, you will be a man. But tonight's the time to join the Wolfen clan. Tomorrow you will stand at the beamer and pray. But tonight, let's gaze at the moon and bathe. Werewolf for mitzvah, spooky, scary. Boys becoming men, men becoming wolves. Werewolf for mitzvah, spooky, scary. Boys becoming men, men becoming wolves.
All right, that was great, Trey. Okay, it's over. That's a wrap.
The next day what happened? The tumor didn't teach.
Oh, there's
I
more.
got up in front of everyone to give my little speech. Then my teeth turned into fangs and my nails into claws, and I nearly dropped the Torah when my hands turned into paws. I growled and I roared, and my rabbi did as well. It was a rocking werewolf zoo at Temple Beth Emmanuel.
Hey man, where'd you learn all these Jewish words? My manager Harvey Lemmings.
Werewolf bar mitzvah, spooky, scary. Boys becoming men, men becoming wolves.
I just don't think the idea of the song can sustain itself for that long. It seems a little sweaty now, so.
This whole premise is sweaty. We had a reception at the Larchmont Country Club. They served a real nice brisket and an 8-foot party sub. I danced with my cousins, I got money from my folks. We had a lot of fun making circumcision jokes. Then I remembered the premise of my song. I was at a nice reception, but the werewolf part was gone. So we pulled ourselves together and we're wolfmen again.
Just in time for monster fight to begin.
All
No.
the country club employees were a brain-sucking pack who had all turned into zombies and were on the attack.
Nah, man.
So we fought them and some Draculas and Frankensteins too. Cause you gotta love bar mitzvah even if you're not an artist.
There's no such thing as
Werewolf
Frankensteins.
bar mitzvah, spooky,
Steins.
scary.
There's no plural
Boys
of Frankenstein.
becoming men becoming wolves. Werewolf bar mitzvah, kooky, hairy. Boys becoming men, men becoming wolves. I don't want this. I don't like this. This is scary. Turning into werewolves and stuff. You know? I got excited when I saw a poodle on the streets the other day. You know?